This is probably going to shock most of everybody who's read this book. The birds, no, I was sobbing uncontrollably at like 2 or 3 a.m. Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I am so excited that you've joined me today. For today's video, we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of August. Now if you're new here, you may not know this, but I am an elementary school teacher and the month of August is when we go back to school. So the month of August was a little bit crazy for me. There was a lot going on and there was a lot happening in my life in the month of August. So I kind of expected not to read a lot in the month of August, but I feel like I had a pretty good reading month. I read 10 books this month and I found some new favorites. So I'm so excited to share them with you, and let's go ahead and dive in. You know what I just realized? I'm not wearing any earrings. That has got to change. I'll be right back. That is much better. I've got a little fall vibe going on. I'm very much in the fall mood. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So I think I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I normally do my wrap-up videos. I've seen a lot of people on BookTube do this, and I think it's so much fun. So I think I'm going to start with my lowest rating book all the way up to my highest rated book, so it keeps you guessing. So in the month of August, I had no 1 stars and no 2 stars. So I feel like that's a pretty good reading month, but we did have 1 3-star. And I am really sad to report that my 3-star for the month was What Have You Done by Sherry Lapina. I read this as a co-host for my friend Jesse's book club Sleep When I'm Dead, and I read this with my friend Keisha and we all discussed it. If you're interested, go check out Jesse's channel. I will leave it down below. Sherry Lapina is a very odd author for me. She's very mid. I usually don't remember her books, but I usually really enjoy them in the moment that I'm reading them. However, I was so anticipating this one because it feels like something different than what she normally does, and I was really excited about this release. This one takes place in a small town where a young girl has been found dead in a cornfield, and they're trying to figure out who did it. So we're getting many perspectives in this book. Like, there are a lot of characters in this book, but I really liked that because Sherry Lapina was trying to give you different angles and different perspectives of who might have done this, and I really loved that. I really loved some other elements that she threw in there. However, I did guess who it was from the very beginning of this book, and I absolutely hate when I do that. I do not go into thrillers or mysteries thinking that I'm going to figure it out, and I really try not to because it really taints my enjoyment of it if I figure it out. So that being said, Sherry Lapina continues to be a mid author for me. I will say her best book that I've ever read by her is Everyone Here Is Lying. Really loved that one. This one was just kind of meh. And that was my only 3-star of the month. So let's go ahead and talk about 4 stars. I had 3 4 stars for the month, and the first one being Cooking to Death, and this is by Marcy Blessy. Marcy Blessy reached out to me on Instagram and asked me to review this book. I believe it is her newest release, and I am here to announce that I did love it. I loved it so much. Again, I gave it a solid 4 stars. This one follows a kindergarten teacher who is just going on about her life, just struggling like us all, and then her ex-boyfriend texts her. The only problem is that her ex-boyfriend is dead, and so she's trying to figure out, first of all, how is my ex-boyfriend texting me and what does he want? And she soon finds out that her ex-boyfriend really needs her to help him because he's stuck. Like, there's some unfinished business that he has and he really needs her to help him out of it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this was the best teacher representation that I've ever read in a novel before. I live this life daily, and so it's really hard for me to go into a book reading what people presumed teachers to be and what they presumed teachers to say. And as soon as I started reading this book, I knew for a fact that Marcy Blessy had been in the classroom in some time of her life because it was just too good. So I went back to the messages that she had sent, and sure enough, she had spent time in the classroom and in the library. I do think that if you're going for really good teacher representation, you're going to find it in this one, and I really overall really enjoyed the mystery. I thought it was fun and quirky. Thank you again, Marcy Blessy, for reaching out to me and letting me review this book. The next 4-star that I have is The Summer of Yes, and this is by Courtney Walsh. This is Courtney Walsh's newest release, and I do not physically own it. I listened to this one, and I would recommend that this is how you pick this one up. I loved the audio for this one, but I have heard mixed things on the audio, but just go with your own preference. This one follows our main characters, Kelsey Kelsey and Georgina. And Kelsey is a younger woman who has just had a very close to death incident. She is almost run over by a car and she wakes up in the hospital wondering where she's at. Well, she is hospital roommates with this woman named Georgina. And Georgina is very much a grumpy older woman. She is sour at life, she's bitter, and she's got a lot of things going on in her life. And coming off of that accident, Kelsey really decides that she wants to spend a summer saying yes, because we never know how much longer we have. And somehow she convinces Georgina to do this with her. I loved this book. I love Courtney Walsh's writing. I think you can't go wrong with it. It's very sweet, wholesome, clean, and I really, really loved this one. I think it has a really good overall message and really makes us think as the reader, because we can learn a few things from Kelsey and Georgina. The reason that I didn't give it 5 stars and I did dock off a star is because there was a romance in here between Kelsey and this other guy, and I just didn't feel it at all. Like, they were talking about some serious things and they had literally just met, and it really just felt kind of forced to me. But again, there are so many raving reviews about this one. That was my only gripe, but overall a solid 4 stars. And the last 4 star that I read was The Light Pirate, and this is by Lily Brooks Dalton. I read this for my friend Elise's book club called The Libranauts, and this was their August pick. I'm gonna admit to you guys that I'm not a huge sci-fi reader, but this one intrigued me. I don't know if it was because they had pirates in the title, but I will go ahead and spoil this for you. There's really no pirates. But overall, I did enjoy the story. Obviously, I gave it 4 stars. This one is a literary dystopian following a family that lives in Florida. And obviously, Florida is prone to getting hurricanes, and a hurricane comes through by the name of Wanda. And Wanda is very destructive, and this family is kind of reaping the results of that. I really don't want to tell you who it follows because I feel like that kind of gives it away. Just know that we're following a couple of characters that give us a really good image of what it looks like to go through something like that. I will say I really overall enjoyed this book. I thought it was very unique, and it was almost like a breath of fresh air because it was so different than anything I've ever read before. I will say if you enjoyed Where the Crawdads Sing, which is one of my favorite books of all time, I will hear no hate on that book. I love that book so much. It kind of gave me those same isolation, nature, connection to nature vibes. I really, really liked this one. I thought it was a solid 4, and I will definitely be checking out other books by this author. And now we're going to get into my 4.5 stars. I had 2 4.5 stars. This first one being such a pleasant surprise, and that is The Secrets of the Amish Diary, and this is by Raquel Phillips. First of all, let's just behold this adorable, cozy little cover. This was such a pleasant surprise, guys. I picked this up on a whim at my local used bookstore and really had no idea going into it. I've never heard a single soul talk about this series, but I mean, I feel like it got me at Amish Inn mystery series. I love that so much. So basically we're following our main character who has inherited this inn from her family, and it's right smack dab in the middle of this Amish town. And this is like completely different from what she's used to. And she goes into like get started in this inn, and she realizes that there is a sewing shop or a fabric shop in the inn, and these 2 ladies run it, and they are just so, oh my gosh, I just want to squeeze them. I just love them so much. And then that opens the door to many other characters in this small town. And I think the characters make the book. I love the quirky characters, the small town characters, the average busybodies. We all know and love them. I love these characters so much. I will say, because this is Amish based, there are some faith tie-ins in here, which I was pleasantly surprised to see. I just love this book so incredibly much, and it made me want to pick up the rest of the series. So I've actually already bought books 2 and 3. So you better believe that I'm going to be continuing this series. Don't come at me for this next one. This is probably going to shock most of everybody who's read this book, but the next 4.5 star that I gave was To the Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. And let's just talk about this one. Okay, so I got this as an e-arc from NetGalley. Thank you so much to NetGalley Books and to this publisher for allowing me to read an early copy of this one. I loved this one so much, guys, and I am not going to defend myself. Actually, I am, because I need to. This book has gotten so many mixed reviews, and so many people are hating this book. I went into this book with a very open mind, and I'm so glad that I did. Basically, the rundown of this one is that a very, very fancy posh hotel has opened and there's been a murder, and you're getting lots and lots of different perspectives in this one. Let me say this loud and clear. Lucy Foley uses foul language in her books, okay? This one was not a 5-star because of the language alone. If the language would have at least been dialed down just a little bit, it would have been a 5-star. However, I just could not. It was taking me out of the story so much that I was getting annoyed. I was like, why do can we use other words here? Like, let's use a dictionary and let's use other words. That's my soapbox. But anyway, I loved the story so much that it was one of those that I was like, just get over it. Let's get through it, whatever. I loved this premise. I'm gonna tell you this. I told you something that Lucy Foley does wrong. Now I'm gonna tell you something that Lucy Foley does right. She does atmosphere so well. The atmosphere, the creep factor, the birds. If there's ever birds, just know I'm already creeped out. It was just so atmospheric and really sucked me into the story, and I was hooked from page 1. Now, I will tell you that this is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Obviously, you guys have already seen that if you looked at reviews on this book. It's either you hate it or you love it. Please know that if you decide to pick up this book. But again, I feel like that's Lucy Foley in general. Either you really love her books or you hate them. So keep that in mind. Take my review as a grain of salt. Now we're talking about my 5-star books. I have 3 5-stars and 1 6-star that we're going to talk about, but we'll get to that one. Let's talk about my 3 5-stars. I just have a feeling that this entire series is going to be a 5 stars, so just kind of spoiling you for the future. And the first 5-star that I have to share with you is Tide and Punishment by Bree Baker. This is book number 3 in the Seaside Cafe mystery series. I am unofficially buddy reading this one with my book club, Comfy Cozy Book Club. I will leave all the information down below if you're interested, but we are unofficially buddy reading this one a book a month for the rest of the year, and this was August's book. I loved it. I love these characters. I think Bree Baker does a really good job as well, like Lucy Foley. She just does atmosphere really well. It just makes you want to go to the beach. It makes you want to have a good sweet tea, and I don't even really like sweet tea, and it makes me want to have a big glass of it. This one is a Christmas themed book, and basically, I'm not going to go into too many details, but the mayor ends up dead, and one of her aunts is framed for the murder. And if you've read this series, you know her aunts make this story. They are so funny. And I will say that there is a detective. His name is Grady Hayes. He also makes the book. 5 stars. This next one was a 5 stars, but it was a reluctant 5 stars. Okay, I did not want to give this book 5 stars because it made me ugly cry. I'm not talking like a tear every once in a while. Like, no, I was sobbing uncontrollably at like 2 or 3 a.m. Straight to Jail, Lauren Roberts. Powerful. This is the novella that comes at the same time as Powerless. I would read Powerless, but simultaneously read this one, because this one follows Adina's perspective in Powerless. So at the same time the Powerless events are going on, so are these. So you need to like read them at the same time. I feel like that would be the ultimate experience in reading these books. I didn't do that, obviously. I read this one afterwards. Just trust me, it was an easy 5 stars. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was a very hard 5 stars to give, but it was 5 stars regardless. And the last 5-star of the month is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I know what you guys are talking about now. Okay, I know the hype behind these books, and I finally know what you guys are talking about. Okay, I finally get it. I get it. The girls who get it, and the girls who don't. This one is following our main character, Signa, and Signa is cursed to never die. And basically all of her life, death has always been around her. But the funny thing is that Death is a fictional character, and he just feels very protective over Signa because he's always been around her, because pretty much everyone in her life has passed away at some point, shape, or form. And she ends up going to live with her uncle and her cousins, and of course, Death decides to follow her. And this is a very weird concept, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, I'm not even gonna try and be dishonest with you right now. This is a very weird concept. Thinking that Death could potentially be a book boyfriend is a very weird thing. That's a weird thing to say on the internet, but it works. That's all I'm gonna tell you. He calls her Little Bird, and do you really need to know anything else? And that leads us into our 6-star read of the month. Foxglove by Adeline Grace. What? Who was shocked? Okay, because I immediately picked up this one after Belladonna, and I've always heard this one's better than Belladonna, and I was like, I'm gonna figure it out for myself. You guys do not lie, ever. Like, I found that none of you lie. You may lie in other things and that's your business, but you don't lie about books. Oh my gosh. This is one of the best books that I've read all year. Can we just take a minute and just behold the glory that is this book? Basically, I can't even explain this one to you without like getting really giddy. This one continues Signa's story, because I'm not gonna tell you what it continues, but I will tell you that it continues Signa's story. Obviously, death is there, and there's this other character that shows up that nobody expected. Let me tell you, I have read thrillers that have not shocked me as much as this one did. And he calls her a little bird in this one multiple times. I loved this book. I think you should read this series. Just go into it knowing that it's weird. And let me just talk about this really quick, because I know I'm going to get some questions about it. There are a couple of scenes in these books, and I am a stickler for scenes in YA books. However, they're not super open door. It's just basically talked about and then you move on. In this story, I was so utterly connected with the characters. Basically, we just talk about it and then it fades to black. But at the same time, like, it is YA. I think this series is one of my exceptions, just because I found these characters and this setting to be so ambient. And I was so sucked in, and I was really rooting for these characters. And so it really didn't even bother me. I really didn't even think about it. But just in case that bothers you, just wanted to let you know. Okay, at the end of my wrap up, I wanted to share with you an update on this book, because I know so many of you are like, Hannah, please, for the love of all that is good, finish that book. And I am, okay, I am. Okay, I'm really liking it. I'm really into it. It just feels like home to me, like all the Harry Potters do. However, I'm not loving the size of this one. It's huge. But like when I sit down and read it, I'm in it, and I like binge hundreds of pages at a time. But at the same time, like, I never have really a lot of time to do that. So it's taken me a long time to get through this one, but I wanted to update you that I am 62% of the way through this book. So I'm not going to finish it in August. I really wish I would have, but I just did not have the time. And I'm going to finish it in September. Like, this is like what I'm reading currently. Like, I'm going to finish it probably either this weekend or next. Like, this is what I'm reading currently. I promise I'm gonna read it. I'm loving it. So yeah, I didn't want you to think that I threw this one off the wagon. It's still on the wagon. I'm still reading it. I promise I will eventually finish it. I promise. So there you have it, my friends. Those are the 10 books that I read in the month of August. Thanks so much for being here, and let me know what your favorite book of the month was. And let me know, have you read the Belladonna series and what you thought of it? And if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and leave me a pink flower, because obviously I loved Foxglove the best this month. And just remember, my friends, this world is a better place with you in it, and I love you so much. Someone loves you today, and it's me. And thank you so much for stopping in on my corner of the internet today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys!